Shalom, welcome back to the Zohar Parashah series. Today we are looking at Parashat Matot-Masei according to the Zohar. This double portion closes Bamidbar, the book of the wilderness. It begins with vows, and it ends with journeys, borders, refuge, and inheritance. The Torah is showing us that the wilderness is not just a place outside us. It is the inner space where speech, desire, discipline, and identity get tested. By the end, a person has to ask, have my words become holy? Have my journeys changed me? Have I learned how to carry mercy without losing judgment, and judgment without losing mercy? Matot begins with Moshe speaking to the heads of the tribes. A person who makes a vow to Hashem must not profane his word. He must do according to what comes out of his mouth. That sounds simple, but according to the inner path, this is not simple at all. Speech is not just communication. Speech is a vessel. It takes something invisible inside the soul and gives it shape in the world. Once it leaves my mouth, it becomes a small creation. That is why a vow is so serious. A vow is when speech becomes a spiritual bond. The mouth ties the soul to an action. So the Torah is telling us, do not treat your mouth like a casual thing. Do not throw words into the air and imagine nothing happened. Every word has weight. Every promise has a root. Every vow creates a line between the inner world and the outer world. But there is also mercy here. The Torah gives laws of annulment. A vow can sometimes be released when it was made in the wrong state, under pressure, in immaturity, or without full understanding. So even at the place of strict speech, Hashem gives a pathway for correction. And this is where the Zohar opens the deeper door. In the Zohar on Matot, the sages speak about two colors that maintain the world, white and red. White represents chesed, mercy, flowing kindness. Red represents din, judgment, strength, restriction, and fire. The world cannot stand only on white because unlimited kindness without boundaries becomes chaos. But the world also cannot stand only on red because judgment without mercy becomes cruelty. So the world is maintained by the weaving of the two. The Zohar connects this to the wise-hearted women who spun the materials for the Mishkan. They work with their hands, and in the inner reading, their spinning represents the joining of judgment and mercy. They take separate threads and turn them into one usable fabric. They take colors that could remain separate and they weave them into a dwelling place for the divine. That is the secret of Matot. A holy person is not someone who has no fire. A holy person is someone whose fire has been woven with mercy. A holy person is not someone who has no boundaries. A holy person is someone whose boundaries are filled with love. A holy person is not someone who speaks a lot of spiritual words. A holy person is someone whose words can be trusted. So, when the Torah speaks about vows, the Zohar hears the whole structure of the soul. Your mouth is where white and red meet. Your mouth can bless or it can burn. Your mouth can build or it can break. Your mouth can create peace or it can create spiritual exile. This is why we have to be careful with promises. Sometimes a person says, I will definitely do this. I will never do that. I promise I have changed. I promise I will serve Hashem with everything. And maybe the intention is real in that moment. But the soul has to learn maturity. The soul has to learn that holiness is not dramatic speech. Holiness is faithful speech. Better to speak less and do more. Better to make a small commitment and keep it than to make a large vow and profane it. In the Zoharic way, the vessel must match the light. If the light is too big for the vessel cracks. So, we do not use vows to impress heaven. We use steady action to become a vessel for heaven. Then Matot speaks about Midian. On the surface, this is a difficult and intense section. But spiritually, Midian is not only an external enemy. Midian represents separation, seduction, confusion, and the force that breaks holiness into fragments. The root idea of Midian is strife and division. It is the inner force that says, separate your speech from your actions, your desire from your devotion, your body from your covenant, your private comfort from the mission of the community. That is why the cleansing of Midian comes after the laws of vows. Before you can repair your battles, you must repair your speech. If the mouth is divided, the life becomes divided. If the words are unclean, the war becomes confused. But when speech becomes truthful, the soul gains a sort of clarity. And then we meet the tribes of Reuben and Gad. They have much livestock. They see the land east of the Jordan, and it looks good for what they own. So they asked Moshe if they can settle there instead of crossing fully into the land with everyone else. Moshe is upset at first because it sounds like the mistake of the spies again. It sounds like private comfort is becoming more important than shared destiny. Are your brothers going to war while you sit here? That question is piercing because spiritually, this is not only about Reuben and Gad. It is about us. What happens when Hashem blesses us with money, talent, land, opportunity, health, or spiritual knowledge? Do we use the blessing to separate from others or to serve more? Reuben and Gad correct the situation by saying, "We will go first. We will help our brothers. We will not return to our homes until the mission is carried together." That is the repair. The blessing can remain, but it must be tied to responsibility. In Zohar language, this is the repair of chesed. Chesed is not soft selfish comfort. Chesed builds the world. The Zohar says, the world is built by chesed. That means true kindness creates structure. True kindness carries responsibility. True kindness does not abandon the community. Then we come to Masei, the journeys. The Torah lists the stations of Israel in the wilderness. At first, it can feel like a travel record. They left this place, camped in that place, left that place, camped in another place. But the inner tradition says no. These are not random stops. These are stations of the soul. The mystics teach that there were 42 journeys, and those 42 journeys correspond to the 42-letter name of Hashem. For anyone who prays Ana Bakoah, this should immediately feel close. 7 lines, 6 words, 42 words, a ladder of ascent. So, Masei is not merely geography, it is initiation. Every person has Egypt. Every person has a Red Sea. Every person has bitter waters. Every person has hunger. Every person has rebellion. Every person has moments of revelation, moments of shame, moments of exhaustion, moments of fire, moments of thirst, moments of healing, and moments where the cloud moves and you cannot stay where you were. And the Torah says these are the journeys, not only the beautiful ones, not only the successful ones, not only the moments where everyone looked holy and strong. The Torah records the heart stations too. Why? Because when Hashem is guiding the journey, even the station of failure can become part of the map of repair. The Baal Shem Tov teaches that the 42 journeys exist in every human life, from birth until the soul reaches its supernal land of life. A person travels through constricted consciousness and expanded consciousness. Sometimes you feel narrow, dry, and pressured. Sometimes the mind opens, the heart opens, and you can breathe again. Both are part of the journey. The Zoharic way of seeing life is not to say, I only met God in the good places. The deeper way is to say, even when I was confused, there was a hidden letter there. Even when I failed, there was something to extract, bury, purify, and learn. One of the stations is called Kifrot HaTa'avah, the graves of craving. That sounds low, but in the inner reading, even that place can hide a high root. The craving has to be buried, but the energy inside craving has to be elevated. Desire itself is not the enemy. Unrectified desire is the enemy. Desire that serves the ego becomes exile. Desire that serves Hashem becomes fire for holiness. So Masei teaches us not to despise our journey. Do not worship your past, but do not waste it either. Do not live in shame, but do not pretend nothing happened. Write down the stations. Learn the pattern. See where the cloud moved. See where you resisted. See where Hashem carried you anyway. Then the Torah gives the borders of the land. This is very important. After the journeys, there must be borders. A soul that has been purified in the wilderness cannot enter holy inheritance without boundaries. Light needs a vessel. Love needs commitment. Prayer needs practice. Wisdom needs humility. Freedom needs form. Without borders, even blessing leaks away. So Hashem marks the land. This belongs here. This line goes there. This tribe receives this place. In simple terms, this is national inheritance. But inwardly, this is the soul receiving its proper vessel. After years of wandering, the soul must learn where it belongs. Then comes the law of the cities of refuge. This is one of the deepest mercies in the Torah. A person who kills unintentionally cannot simply say it was an accident, so nothing matters. Blood has been spilled. Consequence is real. But the Torah also does not allow vengeance to rule without discernment. So Hashem creates cities of refuge. A city of refuge is mercy with boundaries. It is not escape from responsibility. It is protected correction. It is a place where the harsh force of judgment is stopped from destroying a person before truth can be clarified. In the language of the inner life, the city of refuge is the space Hashem gives the soul when the soul has done damage but is not evil at its root. We all need that kind of refuge. Sometimes a person hurts someone through immaturity, ignorance, negligence, anger, blindness, or lack of awareness. The damage is real, but if the person is still capable of teshuvah, then the answer is not revenge. The answer is a protected place where truth, sorrow, discipline, and repair can happen. The Zohar often teaches that holiness creates a protected domain where destructive forces cannot dominate. That is what refuge means. It means the soul is not thrown away. The soul is held inside a boundary until it can be restored. This is a massive teaching for daily life. Some people excuse everything. Some condemn everything. Torah and Zohar teach a higher way. Judgment must be sweetened by mercy, and mercy must be strong enough to tell the truth. That is white and red again. That is the weaving again. That is the whole double portion returning to the same secret. Then the portion ends with the daughters of Tzelafchad. Their inheritance must remain within the tribe, so the portion closes with inheritance preserved and aligned. And this is beautiful because earlier Matot began with the heads of the tribes, and now Masei ends with daughters preserving inheritance. The whole structure is being repaired: speech, tribe, land, family, boundary, mercy, and future. The daughters of Tzelafchad show holy desire for inheritance. They do not want their father's name to vanish. In the inner sense, they represent the soul saying, I also have a place in holiness. I also have something to receive and protect. So, what is the message of Matot-Masei according to the Zohar? First, guard your speech. Your words create vessels. Do not profane your own mouth. Second, weave judgment with mercy. Do not become all fire, and do not become shapeless water. Become a mishkan fabric. Third, do not let blessing isolate you. If Hashem gives you comfort, strength, or resources, use them to help carry the burden of others. Fourth, honor your journeys. Every station can become part of your tikkun when you bring it back to Hashem. Fifth, create holy borders. A spiritual life without boundaries cannot hold light. 6. Become a city of refuge for the part of yourself and others that can still return. Not a place of denial, a place of protected teshuvah. And finally, protect your inheritance. Your soul has a portion. Your life is not random. Your speech, your vows, your battles, your journeys, your failures, your discipline, and your mercy are all being woven into one garment. The Zohar says, the world is built by chesed. So, let the final word of Bamidbar be this. After the wilderness, do not become bitter. Become chesed. Become a person whose kindness has structure, whose discipline has compassion, whose words can be trusted, and whose journey becomes a dwelling place for the Shekinah. Shalom.